And I had been an Episcopalian in between the SDA phase. And then I'm like, I want to go with the original church, I think, but I'm not so sure. So I went, and when they raised the host, I felt an electric power. Something felt like it hit me in the back and went through. I can't describe it any better than that. According to Mr. Davis, I turned ghost white.
John Oliver, welcome to the Sword and Spade podcast. You don't know this.
Glad to be here.
We've already begun.
Good.
I don't. Do you know anything about Sword and Spade?
I unfortunately don't, but that's why I'm here to learn.
Oh my goodness! I mean, look at all the issues.
And there they are.
So, just so you know, so to kind of guide us, Sword and Spade takes its name from a saying from a Catholic author, and you're a new Catholic, which I'm going to ask you about. He worked with Dorothy Day. His name was Peter Marin, and he said every scholar needs to be a working man, and every working man needs to be a scholar. So the sword is we have to defend the faith, and the spade is we actually have to cultivate the ground beneath us to actually have something worth defending, which I think is the harder work. I
have a large garden. I agree with you.
The farmer and the soldier are connected realities, but we all want to beat our swords into plowshares eventually and get back to the garden where we started from. So it's mostly for fathers and men, although there's other listeners. Women tend to listen in to podcasts just for men or magazines for men, but men don't do vice versa. They don't care to listen to this is just something I've discovered. This is an observation.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you.
Not a recommendation. Okay. John, the reason I asked you to come on here, though, is that I had a chance encounter. Well, we met at an OCIA, formerly known as RCIA, before you were Catholic. Now you're Catholic.
Yes, sir.
And then we kind of recognized each other on the street.
Yes.
You're like, oh, a church person out in the wild.
Yeah, there you go.
And then I discovered you worked in movies.
Correct.
And then you're trying to produce a movie.
That is also correct. We are producing a movie, actually, but we're
going to
get to that.
But I don't think of movie makers necessarily as I don't know how to say this, as friendly towards becoming Catholic.
Well, they wouldn't be. The movie makers we know of, you think of Los Angeles, you think of Hollywood, and yes, unfortunately and truthfully, they're not very much into faith of any kind. Maybe they have faith in government, but they don't have any faith in God.
Because it tends, I was attempting to do some research ahead of time, just thinking, why is in my mind I think of Hollywood as left wing?
Because it's true.
Because it's true. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there are the exceptions out there. I know a couple of people, but they have to keep it really quiet.
Okay.
And then, of course, our friend Nick Searcy cut his own throat by coming out as a conservative. And, that was the end of his work, but he had been in 138 movies and television shows.
All right, so I'm going to ask you about that, but just in case anyone's concerned, I'm also going to ask, though, why when I see, some Christians have made some movies, they're like intended to be promoted as such. They generally, outside of like The Passion, are terrible.
They're very poorly made.
I mean, awful. And so it's like embarrassing.
Yes.
Sadly. And I don't want to claim it. But my first question is, why is it that when we think of Hollywood, LA, New York, these places, why is it so
far left?
Yes.
I really am not certain how that happened. It wasn't always that way, as you know, in its development. It was pretty much pure American product up through the 60s, even in the 70s, but then it started to change. And I am not sure why. Is it the education system responsible for that or whatever? They just took to Marx's theories better than they took to Jefferson and Adams. And I don't know why. And that just doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
But nationalized this, healthcare, welfare, gun control. That's their big three ideas. And that's Marx and Engels, not Jefferson and Adams.
Yeah. Interestingly, I tried to do some research because I wanted to come in as if I knew something. So I did what any good millennial would do. I did a few searches and now I feel like an expert.
Oh, good.
So I asked the robot, ChatGPT, which I'm not inclined to ask The robot, and the reason I'm less inclined, I've asked about 3 questions to the robot. The first one was, will AI lead us to God? And it told me no. So I think I learned what I needed to learn there. But then I asked it another question. I can't remember what it was. And they said, that's a good question. I thought, oh, you're flattering me. I hate a robot that flatters me. That feels weird, right?
It is weird.
But then today I asked, why is Hollywood left wing? And what the robot told me was like, that's probably your perception. But here's some reasons why we think. And it was just, they tend to have more heart and like think of these creative people tend to be more progressively minded in things. So I just threw all that away because I'm also thinking of great art in the literary world, Flannery O'Connor, Walker Percy, things that I know. And I'm like, well, you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to the artist.
And let's be, one of the great lies of this world, and Satan is real good at with lies, is, oh, they're more passionate, they're more kind. That is not true. In fact, left-wing ideals, which means giant governments that control every facet of our life, have led to over 150 million intentional murders in the last 80, 90 years alone. So no, I'm not buying it.
Well, I had this conversation though with another guest that I have a compassion, which I can't, when you talk to a young, Marxist, I actually think they begin with compassion. They perceive some sort of suffering in the world and they want it remedied. And the promise of a top-down structure, a systematic restructuring of things would fix all those problems. You're coming from a more old school conservative perspective, which is, no, it won't, because we've seen this before, right?
I'm coming from history, and you know what they say about history? It always repeats itself. It kind of repeats, or certainly rhymes.
Or at least it rhymes, that's right. But what you're talking about, though, and so some of the further reading was, there actually is a sort of unthinking group think with Hollywood, which is the actors tend to come from a certain artistic background,
yes,
which has a empathy because they think in human modes, right? They're trying to like think in human modes. They also have a certain guilt about the strange disconnect that their craft and work has from real life. And then how it's also matched with an exorbitant amount of money that they trade in, which gives a certain guilt to it, which inclines them to think in what we would call leftist or progressive terms, that they feel bad about how good they have it. So therefore tell everyone else how bad they are, because there's nothing harder than self-knowledge. And perhaps if you're really good at acting out as other people, you don't really know yourself as well as you think you do.
Yeah. Sigmund Freud would have a field day with all that, I'm sure. And I will also say, at heart, they're good people. They really are. I think they are just deeply mistaken on how to solve those issues.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm all
they
about
might be actually compassionate.
Yeah, they are compassionate. They are compassionate in their way. Unfortunately, they think that a big, strong, all-powerful government will do it. It will sort of solve the problem because in the past, like I said, they get rid of the extras, the people that can't make it for themselves, those that were going hungry. Let's just put them in ditches.
Right.
That's what they've done. And it always ends up that way. It's not like, it happened once or twice. I mean,
it would be different this time.
Yeah. Well, Venezuela is such a great example. I mean, it was the richest country in all of South America just a couple of decades ago. And then they went with socialism and they had, nationalized healthcare, nationalized welfare, but they didn't have gun control, but they finally got that. And now it's one of the highest murder rates in all the world.
Right. They could move to the utopia of Cuba.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's a sad thing to see people repeat history. And I think that's why I like history so much, because we really don't change. I mean, we don't, as people, we have better objects. We have these wonderful microphones and lights and things we might not have had 100 years ago. But as human beings, we do not change very much.
There's a certain nature we need to understand. Yeah. All right. Well, then let me ask you this. Tell me, how did you get involved with this? How long have you been? Yeah. Where were you? Because just so everyone knows, I met you at like my local church.
Yes.
And we're friends because we live in the same place. And you brought me mulberry trifle, which is, if anyone's unfamiliar, mulberries are now in season where we are, and you have to pick them and eat them really fast because they're not easy. This is why people don't know them as a commodity because you can't store and ship them, but they're delicious and they're falling from the heavens. We actually, our grocery bill goes down during mulberry season because the children graze, climbing in the trees with no shoes on like savages. But so anyway, that's why I left this on the table.
Okay, yeah. So mulberry trifle is basically, I baked a little angel food cake, tore it up and put it in there with some fresh whipped cream from a friend of mine who gives me dairy products. And
which is not me. We have a dairy.
We have a dairy. But one day I'll start stealing your milk there.
No man takes my milk. I lay it down freely. All right. So then now you're here in my place now, but where were you before and what was the connection to the movie industry? And
I started at a radio station, WTYN in Tryon, because a friend of mine was there at work and the owner was always out of town. But this time he came into town and my friend had quite a few beverages. And I was just hanging out with him.
Coca-Colas.
No. Well, there might have been some vodka.
Might have been some Coke in it.
Okay. Anyway, he was quite drunk and you could hear it. And so the owner came in and very angry. "You're fired." And then he looks at me like, "Who are you?" And then he realizes he doesn't want to stick around and run the station. He said, "Do you know how to run this stuff?" I said, "Sort of." And so that's how I started in radio. And then it went to television. I did something called...
so you're from Polk County?
Yeah, oh, yes. I'm a native.
Oh, man.
Deep native.
Oh, man. I thought you were just another one of these Yankees here.
No.
I thought you had picked up a good way of speaking. All right. So forgive me. I repent. Well, off screen, I'll repent even further.
There you go.
Off mic. So, all right. So you started in radio and then you said you got to television?
Yes, correct.
Wait, when was that in radio? Is this like you're 16, 17?
Yeah, I was 16, 17 years old. And then
you got on the radio?
Yeah, I got on the radio. Got to start.
That's cool then,
interviewing rock stars. I remember one time I was at this station called Kiss FM in Asheville at the time. And this band called Rat was coming to town. RATT. It was a big hit, Rat was. And they gave the midday guy, I was doing the afternoon shift, which is considered one of the better shifts, mornings and afternoons. Anyway, so they give the midday guy Rat. I was furious. So I had to interview this new punk, some guy I'd never heard of named John Bon Jovi. And I did his first interview ever. According to him, I did. No, it was on a little cable station.
Can you call him right now? See what he's doing?
No, I'm afraid we never stayed in touch.
Oh, but it was your mistake. Or his. I don't know.
Well, he got real busy directly after that. It was just one of those funny things that life throws at you.
Yeah, now you're like, Rat who? With two
Rat
T's?
who? Yeah,
like a butt?
Yeah, what? No.
All right, so you got doing radio in Asheville.
Correct.
That was the big city move?
Yes. Well, no. That was early on. And from there, I started doing this I did the first syndicated rock and roll show. It was a little 90-second vignette that played on stations across the country. You might remember something called New Coke and Max Headroom if you're old enough. That was a flash in the pan, so to speak. But they had a massive budget and they sponsored it. And so it went across the country. And I was interviewing various rock bands.
What's funny is I don't recognize any of this, but as you talk, I'm like, this guy sounds like he's on a rock station.
Well, as a matter of fact,
like, have you ever said 2 for Tuesday? Or
all the time. Yeah. As a matter of fact,
every rock station has that 2 for Tuesday, right? I mean,
right. We do tend to repeat ourselves in our industry, but from there I went on to do some other television stuff as well, and I did make a brief trip to the left coast. And stayed there with cousins for a while and found out it probably wasn't the best thing for me if I wanted to live, because I still struggled with drugs and alcohol at that time, which I've given up a long time ago. Right. And that was God thing for sure. And so I decided to come back home eventually, but I didn't want to come all the way back to this beautiful scenery. I went down to Greenville because it was a really developing city at that time. It was very small.
All right, there's a big, because... Did you go from Greenville to here?
Yes.
All right. So what's the gap? How long were you on what you call the left coast there?
Only a couple years.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I came back to Greenville in the 1990s. I can't remember the exact date, but there was nothing going on downtown. As soon as the bankers and lawyers left the tall buildings, it was ours to roam. And we really had a vision for Greenville and to become the cool town it is. And people like Adi Sully, who unfortunately recently passed, opened up a restaurant. Several friends started opening up
Was this when they opened up the waterfall and everything?
Yes. That was down to a wonderful gentleman. Of course, I know him well. His name will slip my mind because, after all, I did party a lot.
It'll come back.
George Fletcher. George Fletcher sat at Ottie's one night and looked me in the eye and told me that down yonder by the river, he doesn't really talk that way, but he said,
all right, let the story go.
There's a bridge covering a waterfall.
Yeah.
I said, bull. And by the way, back then there was nothing but kudzu and junk down there by the river, and you did not go there. Every so often they'd find a body down there.
Right.
You just didn't go to the river. He said, not only that, I'm going to tear that down so everybody can see it. We're going to build a park next to it, and we're going to call it Falls Park. And guess what else? I'm going to open a baseball stadium across the river. I said, nobody will ever go there. He had vision. I didn't, obviously. Huh. So, and Greenville just grew and grew and grew, and it grew to the point that it was time for me to get back to the country.
Wait, hold on. But I'm going to flesh what you just said. He was right, because Greenville it was, built up by the bankers. Yeah. They abandoned it. It had an opportunity to either be decrepit and abandoned like a lot of small southern towns or smallish southern cities. His vision. And he found something that it was built around, which was beautiful.
Yeah.
And
no one knew that.
And no one knew it was there. And he opened it up. And now downtown Greenville is a place of leisure. There's St. Mary's down there. Beautiful. Beautiful churches, beautiful liturgies, and a vibrant downtown. A lot because of that waterfall.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Which is amazing, because my understanding is sort of the libertarian mindset that would have been there if hyper-leftism is tyrannical, right? The hyper other side is, so if that's tyrannical, the other side is formlessness, right? Which is nothing, no order, nothing. And they would say, we don't need to spend any money, any investment or anything on this waterfall. But he actually had a vision and direction, and saved the downtown.
And he had the capital to do it.
Yeah.
Because initially, the city eventually came along,
But he got it started?
He got it started. Absolutely. Don't let anyone fool you.
Right. And then they played catch up.
Yeah. A lot of people, what is it? Success has many fathers.
Yeah.
And there were certainly other people, but George Fletcher definitely led the way.
Right.
And with his ideals and his backing. And he did get that done, along with many other people, to get the Greenville Drive in there. I had a chance to call ball games for a while there. That was a lot of fun.
You got that voice, man.
I had a lot of fun. Now.
Well, right, but when you were in Greenville, were you still in television or?
No, by that time I'd become a full-time voice actor, which I still am today. When I say full-time, it doesn't take full-time. It takes about 2 hours a week, but that's what I do for a living.
Okay.
So you hear me, you don't have to see me, and there's a blessing.
Yeah, so you didn't know we were going to be on camera.
No, I just literally.
You just said live weird, fake your death.
Yeah,
and you
that's
have a picture
of a possum. Yeah. I'm a possum. Anyway, I was actually on a historic trail here called Alexander's Ford today with the Bradley brothers, and we cut and tossed about 2.5 tons of logs, seriously, off that trail. They keep falling over ever since Helene, and we want to keep the trail open for people who are anxious to go out there and learn a little bit of revolutionary history in this area.
Yeah. Well, there's people keep asking, did Helene hit you? And was it bad? I'm like, we're going to be cleaning up for decades.
Yeah. It's going to be a while.
Okay. So then your involvement then with, media, radio, television, voice acting.
Yes. All of it.
And your experience in the industry has been consistently, you were sort of a lone wolf or a lone voice, literally, of sanity? Or have you experienced, what has it been? Is it a place that's, you seem like you're kind of generally, traditionally or conservatively minded.
Yes.
You have an affection for where you came from, your place. You came home. That's the dumbest thing someone who's a cosmopolitan, Hollywood person would do, to go home to a small town.
Yeah. But I wanted out.
You wanted out.
Yeah, it was just, I would have died.
And is it because of addictions and things?
Yeah, that would have been part of it. And then just the rat race, even if I certainly couldn't stand the place sober. About had to drink to be there. And again, it's because it is a bit of a rat race. And I think there is a way that people get very, very tired there. And I think it applies to a lot of people there. It's there's a look in your eyes, and it's not always a good one. It's a very tough industry, as you know. You're a hero today.
That's why you're here.
A hero today and a zero tomorrow. And luckily, I never put my faith in that. I did it for a living, and I still do it for a living, but I don't have any faith in it. My faith is in God and Jesus. So
can I ask you then? You said you got sober.
Yes.
Was it there while you were there?
In Greenville. Yeah.
It was in Greenville.
Yeah.
You said that was a God thing.
It was very much a God thing. It was, very clear to me that it was.
Well, I'm always interested
when
God has this tendency of getting involved in our lives. So what do you mean it was a God thing?
I literally felt I heard a voice, inside my head that you're dying, you're killing yourself, and there's no reason for that. I don't want that. And I assumed it was a God, a higher power, Jesus, an angel. I can't say, but I heard a voice. And
had you grown up with any sort of faith? Or
absolutely, yes. I went to church every Sunday. So, it was something that was very dogmatic, though, and it,
this was in Tryon?
Yes, I rejected it after I became a teenager. But my parents were very faithful, very faithful people.
And can I ask what denomination?
Yes, it was Seventh-day Adventist. So they're very different.
Hear my dog barking?
I hear the dog barking. No podcast is complete without
a dog barking. Oh my gosh! I sound like some NPR voice person during COVID when they were home with their dogs. I don't know if you listen. I listen to it constantly.
I do some. Yeah, I do.
I like it. It's
no, they have great stories.
High quality stories.
Yeah, they have big budgets from us. So,
So, were you the Seventh-day Adventist just down the hill by the river?
Yeah, just down by the river. That was their church. Yeah, absolutely.
And that was your place.
That was where I went to church every Saturday, which is one of their peculiarities.
Yeah, among other things.
But they're wonderful people, and they do
most of them are vegetarians.
Right? Yes,
right.
I was raised a vegetarian.
Yeah, I'm kind of a student of religions, really interesting, and somehow I missed the Seventh-day Adventists. Besides missing out on,
they're very quiet.
Besides missing out on birthdays and Christmas, right? They don't do birthdays, right?
Yeah, we do birthdays and Christmas.
Oh, I'm thinking of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses do that. Seventh-day Adventists definitely celebrate Christmas and Christ, and they're very much a Christian faith. They have some different beliefs, obviously, than some, and so and then again, I just turned my back on all faith for a number of years. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is, I think, not that uncommon. It sure is unfortunate.
Yeah. That's something we discuss quite often in this space, or however you put that. But I don't want to discuss that here because I'm presuming actually that the teenage years and the reason you left your faith were some of the cliches of the enemy, which is addictions, relationships.
All of the above. Very typical.
And that lasted into your young professional.
Yeah, it lasted into my 30s almost.
Okay.
Yeah, but when I got sober, for sure, that's when
you sense God.
Yeah, sense God.
What did you
leading me there
when that moment of actual grace? Not that you're Catholic, we'll give those dorky theological terms.
I love that.
A moment of actual grace, right, given to you.
It was.
Like in that moment, what was your next move? Or was it a process, or was it a big conversion?
Well, I had attempted sobriety several times before, sort of played with it. I didn't really, an attempt would be the best word, I guess. And I played with it, and I actually had gone to a rehab once, and they let you down like a little feather, with drugs and other things, which is ironic. And, you don't really feel it. So this time when I felt, again, I prayed and I felt God telling me you're going to die and I don't want to waste you that way. I just did it on my own, which is highly unrecommended at the level I drank and drugged. But I mean to tell you, I felt like I was levitating. Sweat, blood basically almost coming out of my pores. It was awful. Wow. It's horrible. And I remember every bit of it.
Just the detox.
Yeah. I felt my bones were going to break because the muscles were contracting and stuff. It's really awful when you're that level of alcoholism and drugs.
And you were able, you're saying you did that. Well, we must say you weren't on your own because God was doing something.
Oh, absolutely.
But no one
actual was around.
Process of sobriety was isolated.
Totally isolated.
What'd you do? Lock yourself in a apartment?
Locked myself in my apartment and dealt with it and not recommended again. Do not try this at home.
Wow.
It's
how many days, weeks, months?
It took about 5 days.
Wow.
And then, I still felt terrible, but I wasn't like this. So and then, of course, I kept attending AA meetings and other sobriety functions. and regularly to this day, almost 14 years, right at 14 years later, I still go regularly, and that's a faith-based program.
Yeah.
They kind of stay away from that end of it, but
my understanding is actually you can't really go through AA the way it's designed and the way it actually works without encountering God.
Absolutely.
You're gonna.
Number one rule, you have to accept there is a God. Now, they tell you early on, it can be your dog, it can be your best friend, it can be that tree.
Right.
But realistically, they know what they mean God.
And the ones that make it through probably aren't worshiping their dog.
No.
Right.
No, you have to accept,
because it's a lower power.
One of the weird things about being an alcoholic and an addict is it tends to make a person think they're their own God.
Yeah.
And you have to accept there is something higher than you. We call it a higher power, or God. And we say God all the time. And realistically, the people who make it have to accept a real God and something outside of themselves, I believe, in order to make it. And that's what the program speaks to. And of course,
I had a dear friend, he wrote, I won't use his name because I almost printed his name, but he wanted it to be anonymous. But he wrote about his discovering he was an alcohol, or like coming to grips with it in one of those moments where he was like passed out and about to miss a very important moment in life. And he went through AA, and he said, part of AA is eventually what you actually encounter is your extreme, utter selfishness. And which made me think of, I don't know if you ever heard of Community Cenacolo. It's a community started by a nun in, I think she's Italian, but is president Ireland, president of the United States. There's one in Alabama, one in Florida. And it's for addicts and young men mostly that, have really hit rock bottom. And she always says that actually the addicts and the alcoholics, that they are the prophets of our age, because they're actually showing you, all of you, what you're actually about, what you're really about, which is yourself. Yeah. St. Augustine says you have two choices, God or yourself.
Yes.
There's no other choices. And the addict, it just takes that inner disorder and just makes it visible. Right.
Absolutely.
For everyone to see.
I agree with you wholeheartely. As essentially does the program. Again, I don't speak for the program in any way, just trying to share my experiences of it. But, we are anonymous, and we always welcome people to come. But I think a lot of people hear that and they're like, they think we're a temperance movement. We're not.
Yeah.
We don't care how much you drink, when you drink, where you drink. But if you want to stop, we can help.
Mm-hmm.
And we do. And, it's been a very successful thing. And we have this saying that says, and we have a lot of sayings, some are a little corny, but this works if you work it. And it does. And if you don't, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I would say that applies to faith as well. I mean, you can say, I love God and I love Jesus or whatever, but if you never do anything about that, you don't attend anywhere, and you don't tend to be with people who feel faith as well, then it usually does, I don't see that as working out too well.
That's right. There's something about the propheticness of the addict is that they've been defeated.
Yes.
And any person of faith has actually been defeated, where they have surrendered and allowed God to love them. Whereas a lot of us are delusional in our faith, actually, that what we really think is that we have figured God out. And we're very smart, and he's very lucky to have us. I
definitely don't have that.
Like the Pharisee that prays thus with himself. I thank you. I'm not like these other people. I'm doing all the right things, and aren't I swell? Mm-hmm. And I think Mother, the nun who started Community Cenacolo, I think Mother Elvira. I can't remember. Mother Elvira. She'd say, "You're a Pharisee, and you're the worst of them." So she would have compassion on the publican asking for mercy. Like, okay, so you went through this detox. We're going to get back to the movie industry.
Okay,
but you went through this.
Yep.
And then you continued in the same work you were in.
Yes, I continue to be a voice actor today. You hear me on radio, television, commercials, and other things.
Can you tell me the worst one that I might hear you on? Like, you're not the local, not the car dealer.
No. But honestly, I do some car dealerships around the country, but not any here.
Could you really quick get Sword and Spade magazine? Can you give me what would your voice be like? Welcome to Sword and Spade magazine and podcast.
Welcome to Sword and Spade, where strength comes easily, mostly to men, but we welcome others.
Oh, I should have thought of more scripts for you to read. Hold on. Let me
write anything down. I'll read it for nothing.
I want to get like that makes me want to write like absurd scripts that
I can
sound
have so
like
much fun. Yeah,
that sound
a lot.
like a real advertisement. Yeah. Like
it's funny because the big voice, which I sort of have and can do, and I did a lot of movie trailers after Don LaFontaine died. He was the big movie trailer guy in a world, that guy. And
I didn't know this was your thing. Okay,
so I took a lot. I got a lot of that business, unfortunately, after Don passed way too soon. And unfortunately, they took those out. I don't know if anybody had noticed, but I mean, I think they don't do that anymore. They
took what out?
They took the voiceover away from the movie trailers. Now they just show clips of the movie. So I have not heard a voiceover on a movie trailer. And
have you given thought at why that happened, man?
There's sort of an anti-selling sort of thing going on with the generation I guess they're trying to reach. It's like, if you want a thick burger, get a thick burger. But if you don't want it, you don't have to have it because it's really kind of not that good. So whatever,
They don't want,
it's underselling. It's anti-selling, yeah.
Alpha male voice.
Yeah, they want people to be filled with faith in what they're saying anymore. They want people to sound like they just don't care.
See, I don't know. I think it has to do with when you watch a trailer now, it's like a music video, which is my understanding is they switch. And actually, Catholic media is starting to do this. I mean, if you want attention and you're a visual thing, my understanding is you have to switch the view, the angle, the scene, like every 3 seconds.
Yes.
It has a means of constantly re-engaging a scattered and fragmented mind.
Yes, which is what we have created with all kinds of things, including legalized drugs that we give kids to make them behave and all that sort of thing.
You mean iPhone?
That too.
Yeah.
That's one of them, but there are actually, downers.
So I wonder if the voice, there's something about an actual voice that's like somewhat obsolete. I mean, the funny thing, and this is, we were joking, you and I, we're on a podcast right now, which is funny, but you and I both were admitting to not listening to podcasts.
Yeah, as a general rule, simply because they often don't seem to have a point to me. This one seems to have a very good point.
Oh, wow. And keep here long enough. We'll round that point off.
Okay.
No, my point was, the reason is not that I'm opposed, but like I told you, it's like golf. It's too late. I'm not going to pick it up now at this point in life. But, and I don't commute to work. So maybe if I drove a lot, I would listen to it. But that being said, the two options right now in media is you make like a 6-second TikTok or you make a 3-hour conversation about when cars started using disc brakes instead of drum brakes or something like that,
Well, podcasts do very well. Obviously, someone like a Joe Rogan has tremendous influence, and podcasters today, I think, have way more direct influence on mass public than broadcasters, because we all know what they're going to say, and they're reading a script anyway.
Right. So you think that maybe just the amount of voices out there made the cool.
Yeah, the renegade sticks out because everyone else, I'm sure you've seen these videos that are done where they take clips from news media and they're all saying the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. And on top of each other. It's just they're reading from the same script. So if you've seen one, you've seen them all. If you watch a Joe Rogan or other podcasts, you're going to see something really different. Or this one, for instance, you're going to see something you probably may want to see.
Which I think actually is a refresh. I mean, the line we have tried to stick to in Sword and Spade is that, look, there's a lot of experts out there. And I'm not just opposed to expertise. There are people that are my betters in many things. Yes. Many things. I don't know. I am nobody's better in anything. But there are people that are my betters, right? And they're experts. But then there's the experienced. Mm-hmm. And somebody who has been tempered by the suffering of experience has a voice, speaking to a voice actor, that you believe. And they're able to tell the story from the experience. And I think it's because they begin where most humanity actually begins, which is the feeling of the passion itself, which is then followed by the understanding of what's actually happening. For example, my children learn to feel anger long before I explained to them that Thomas Aquinas says that anger is the desire within ourselves to set right something that has been wronged. Yeah. To tip the scales of justice. Like, that's esoteric. That's nothing to them. Yeah. But they feel it first. So it's almost as if people with experience are able to immediately, like the way a story in a narrative, like a good movie, can get immediately to the heart. It's not that it's, subjective because it deals in the emotions. That's silly. It's because it actually just hits at the raw experience of humanity first, and then gets to the point of it, if it does that at all, or it doesn't wear us down with telling us the point, because we get it already. But Sword and Spade, I mean, all these issues, the magazine has been a success because of working really hard to tap into people that are actually in the experience, which is why I'm appreciating your story. One, to think I'm just going to be listening to every like.
Well, I did do a commercial for our current president.
Oh man, do you remember the lines? Was it "Make America Great"? I mean,
no, I didn't. I didn't get to say that. It was, believe it or not, oddly enough, they chose my voice, but it was an ad for targeting women who voted for Trump, and so that I thought that was really cool. But it was pretty straightforward. It wasn't.
If you want to bring back good movie trailers,
yeah, there you go.
Make movie trailers great again.
I'm ready. I'm ready to make them great again. And in fact, when we make our movie, we fully intend to do a voiceover trailer.
All right. So this is where you and I, where we met. And I just want to set the scene because you talk about a God thing. It was providential.
Oh, amen.
And it was, there's moments, like Helene was one of them, where the internet was out, and all of a sudden humanity woke up, right? Like neighbors were walking around, we were talking to people. It was like, and that day where I saw you, we had met because I had been asked to teach the RCIA class.
Correct.
You were in there, introduce yourself. And we were like, yeah, we exchanged. Yeah, John. Yeah. And then we saw each other. But the day I saw you, my computer was at the shop. So I had nothing but a couple phone calls and maybe my calendar to work on, but I had to wait in town. I couldn't go home. It was like this real awkward. So I'd gone to the church. I prayed because where we were is right, it's
right down the road.
Yeah. So then I'm like, I'll go get lunch and drink an afternoon beer.
No problem. No problem. I'm not a temperance guy. You drink all the beer you want.
Well, I have a family. Don't say that because I want a lot of beer.
Okay.
But
that's up to you.
So I'm sitting there, and that day I met a Orthodox guy who was dabbling Catholic, sometimes went to the Episcopal Church, and I was like, come on, you can't go Orthodox to Episcopalian. That's lame. And then I met a fallen away Catholic who was one of the main artists downtown in our little town where we are, Tryon. Mm-hmm. And then I met you.
Yeah, I ran into you and I confused you with another friend.
You came up. I'm sitting there. I'm outside on the balcony, and you came up talking to me like, I don't know if you said, hey, I didn't think you'd be on time or something. And I was like, well,
because
I didn't think you'd be late, homie.
Yeah, I looked at you and thought you were a friend of another friend of mine who's also a radio person. And
who's also ugly.
Yes, it's homely. That's why we can't say his name now, because we'll be in big trouble. No, it was a little confusing for a second.
But you started talking, but I had recognized you enough to be like, man, did I have an appointment? Was I supposed to be?
I knew you. I just confused you with someone else for a second. And then I went, oh, no, this is my guy.
That's it.
And by the way, I want to say this to anyone who's Catholic, especially, but anyone out there. I am super Catholic.
Yeah.
And let me tell you why. Because I got in on CNC and I only missed one the whole time because I didn't know about the first.
You got in on what?
When they were calling it Creeds and Canons.
Okay.
And then they went to RCIA, right? And then they went to OCIA, and I went to all of them.
You went to all of them?
Months and months and months. I think about 10 months.
Okay, so all right. Well, we saw each other. Yeah, I found out in the way we discovered who we were both kind of like, I think I know you, was you were telling me about the movie that you're trying to make.
Yes.
And then I said, well, it'd be interesting. I have a podcast, it's mostly for Catholic guys. And you said, I'm becoming Catholic. And then we were both like, oh yeah, we saw each other.
That's where it was. You gave a great talk about Sir Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah, that's my bag. And for better or worse. So
it was brilliant.
Thank you. But we met there, we saw each other, and then you told me about the movie. But before, just hold on that one. Where was I got to your conversion, some of your professional history. And then what was how did you get your foot in the door of Catholicism? And then what you're describing, no one knows. Creeds and Canons was the Monday night kind of teaching we had before, and then it became RCIA, OCIA.
Yeah, I got through them all. I like it. I loved
it.
It was brilliant. I loved it. Just loved it. It was one of the things I look forward to.
What was why did you start going to?
Well, I don't want anyone to think I've lost it. Maybe I have a little bit, but I don't think so. I attended with a wonderful fellow, and I don't think he'd be mad if I said his name. It's Patrick A. Davis. I've known him for several years now, and we've worked together on this revolutionary movie project. And he's also a New York Times best-selling novelist, which he would never tell you.
I did not know.
Yes, he is.
Did he come in here and tell me that?
He might.
Right.
He's very shy. But anyway,
Good.
He's a wonderful guy. He drags me down to the Catholic Church. He keeps saying, come to the Catholic Church. Come to the Catholic Church.
You guys just knew each other from town? Or?
Yeah, we knew each other from working together. And I'd known him for about 3 years at this point. And he frequently said, please come to the Catholic Church. And I said, I will one Sunday. And, I didn't really mean it. And I'm sad to say. But one Sunday he got me there. And I knew nothing, less than nothing about Catholicism. You hear the things that other denominations say, but I knew nothing about Catholicism. But I know it and realize it was the original church. And being someone who loves history and theology now, it goes straight back to Christ. Mm-hmm. And I had been an Episcopalian in between the SDA phase. And then I'm like, I want to go with the original church, I think, but I'm not so sure. So I went, and when they raised the host, I felt an electric power. Something felt like it hit me in the back and went through. I can't describe it any better than that. According to Mr. Davis, I turned ghost white. I was shocked. I didn't know what happened. I still can't say for sure I know what happened, but all I can tell you is it made me feel like Christ was in that room.
Yeah.
And I know now that he is.
Yeah. Well, we won't chase it away with an explanation, but it sure was just a moment of intense grace.
It was, I believe exactly that. I mean,
that's just how God works in your life, apparently.
Yes. It's just, I need a stick.
Yeah. Okay.
He has to hit me hard.
Well, now that we're getting to know each other, so if I need your attention, I'm going to have to hit you.
Yeah. You've got to get a big stick and square in the back is good.
Of course, you're the one that was texting me and our good friend, Jared.
Oh, yeah.
I said, he probably didn't get your text or didn't know your number. And then we looked at it together, and I had just not responded. So perhaps we both could use a stick.
Yeah, it was funny. I said, I called Jason. I did, but I didn't. And I thought it was him, but I don't know if he got it. So, I'm glad Jared got us back together.
I'm a man of many faults.
Me too.
Okay, so you dabbled in wannabe Catholic Episcopal. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it was. It's Catholic light, let's be
Catholic
honest.
Light. And then you were invited, you had a moment of grace. You started attending the classes. Yes. Your intellect caught up with your experience. You said yes. You came in. Yeah.
Every day.
Well, I mean, excuse me, the submission and the intrigue of your intellect. Because you started going to the classes. You were engaged.
Immediately. Loved it, too. Yeah. I really look forward to it. And I couldn't believe that because usually I'm not a class type person. I like to learn on my own. I like to be alone in the woods. Like I said, I like to go out and toss logs off of trails, things like that, and rocks. But I would never have guessed. But there was a psychic change in me after that experience at Mass. And I knew that's what I wanted. And I am really amazed and pleased that, anybody else, any church, come on down. We'll slap something on water on you or something. You'll be, you'll
be in.
You'll be in. This is a true intellectual learning experience as well as a spiritual experience. Yeah. And I can highly recommend it to anyone to whom that sounds like a good thing.
It's fascinating because I came from evangelical Protestantism. Well, I came from, nothing as a child, and then I became an evangelical Protestant later. And they're very good at, filling the roles and getting people in, say the Jesus prayer, sign up, register. And that has the appearance of working well. And the Catholic Church has now, while we have our evangelical efforts, there is this, even from in the early church, when people were coming in, there's this pause. Hey, I want in. Wait.
Yeah.
Right.
Good.
Go through this preparation, the fasting of Lent, the intellectual growth of all those. I mean, that's just an interesting, and that was our experience too. My wife and I are both converts. We came in at the same time. Yeah, we came in at the same time.
Yeah.
And had been a part of these evangelical things where these big mass gatherings and all, give your life to Christ things. And a lot of personal mentoring too, not just like, crusades and things. But coming into the church was a completely different thing, going through Lent. going through instruction, longing for the sacraments, and being told no for a while was
I was so moved.
Yeah.
When I finally got to at Easter, it was wow.
Okay. Well, welcome home. It's good to have you.
Thank you. And I feel home. That's the good thing. And it's great to have a home, and a serious home, not a, if I want to go or if I feel like it. I mean, I have not missed Mass yet.
Yeah.
Since I started CNC and Creeds and Canons. And
you're so deep in it and dorky at this point. You've got nicknames for Catholic things that you go to.
Yeah, right.
CNC.
Yeah. And then they changed those nicknames on me a little bit, like RCIA.
Well, Creeds and Canons was, that was Father's idea for what we would call it, because it's the alliteration. RCIA was the name of the process given.
Right.
Well, my joke is, so you went through a great RCIA.
Yes, absolutely.
I had a very difficult one. Extremely difficult. We started calling it repelling converts inadvertently. And it was, we don't need to complain about it on this one, but it was a difficult experience I had to endure, not because I was fasting and doing penance, but because I had to sit around a table with a candle lit for no apparent reason. Anyway, but you had a good one.
Yeah, I did. And because I felt so moved to be a part of it.
Yeah.
In a way that was certainly, I guess, supernatural, however you wish to call it. It was certainly very moving to me. And it was
Mr. Davis your sponsor?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And what a brilliant, great human being on top of it.
Yeah.
Not just an excellent Catholic Christian.
Yeah.
And so he's been a great guide and a good person. And like I said, he's also a business partner. So that's wonderful.
Okay, good. All right. Well, I saved it to the end because anyone who talks to you is going to learn about the movie you're attempting to make. Yeah, so I saved it to the end. This is like the bull riding at the end of the rodeo.
Okay. If anybody made it through this.
So, John, tell me about the movie you're trying to make and why are you making it?
It's called Revolutionary, and it's about a lesser known battle, but a massively pivotal battle during our Revolutionary War struggle. It's second only perhaps to Saratoga, and some would say they were equal. The bottom line is people don't know it, so it's always fun to tell a story that's lesser known. Here in the South, we had a lot of Scots-Irish people, and we have a history of oral storytelling. Mm-hmm. In the Northeast, they had a history of writing things down and selling books. So most of the history of the war is from the Northeastern perspective. What most people don't know is here, it was not like it was in the North where large armies were clashing. It was a bloody, true civil war, an actual one. I mean, where neighbor was against neighbor. The guy on this hill was for the king, and the other guy says, you know what? I think I can take care of myself without a king. And they would clash, and there were old, once society breaks down, there's old feuds and disagreements, and it was just bloody for at least 10 years prior to the start of the revolution proper in 1776.
Interesting.
And there was a major battle with Governor Tryon and his like against some people who called themselves the Regulators at Alamance Creek. I believe that was 1767, and there was about 3,000 people there in a state that was very lightly populated. That was a big battle. Unfortunately, Governor Tryon won. And for a while, that spirit and they had the same ideas as the founders of individual liberty, the right to worship as we saw fit, and live our lives as we saw fit without government interference. And, then that caught wind again, and it would, there'd be a few skirmishes, a lot of people would die, and then they always went home after the battle. It was the weirdest thing because they weren't regular soldiers. But what had happened is that the final standing true army we had in the war was totally destroyed at Camden, South Carolina, because General Cornwallis decided to come up through Charleston, and he came through the South like a spring tornado. There were no armies here, only these average guys who had their weapons. So he just tore right through everything. And after Camden, that army too split to the wind. And so here he is in Camden, South Carolina. Washington is in Morristown, New Jersey. His men have been fighting for years, and they had no food or very little food, no bullets. I mean, no shoes. They couldn't do anything. So he was like, he's salivating. There's no one between me and Washington, no army. and all I have to do is get there in about 5 weeks and we'll end this thing. Mm-hmm. And that's probably what would have happened. But instead, a bunch of hillbillies decided to come down out of the hills. Actually, they were pressed to do so by a gentleman named Reverend Doak and others. But Reverend Doak gave a very powerful speech about why they should come, and that will be fully in our movie.
Come from where? Did they come from the hills?
They came from over the hills. Now, I don't know how much time we have, but
what's the Battle of Kings Mountain we're talking about? Yes,
Kings Mountain is the battle, but let me say this really quickly. There is a place in our county called Tryon Peak. It's named after Governor Tryon. Tryon was one of the worst of the colonial governors who were demigods because King G3 did not care what they did. So they just got to do whatever they wanted. And like so many politicians, he had just built himself what would have been $1 billion castle today in the Tryon Palace and named it after himself, of course. So that really upset and probably threw more people against him than ever. The bottom line there is that what he had done, he had given all of the East Coast good land, the farmland, to his slave owning buddies. And then he told everyone to push off. And then he gets on the mountain because they're all starting to push so far in the wilderness, he can't tax them and rule over them anymore. So he's got up on top of Tryon Peak, which is a prominent peak here in Polk County. And he said that there's a north-south line. There's a border right here on the top of this mountain. And he thought it, applied to all of the colonies. I'm sure none of the other governors knew or cared, but he said, this is the western border of the colonies. And anyone who goes beyond that line is an outlaw, and they will be shot or hanged immediately on sight if they come back. So literally a lot more people went over that line for obvious reasons. And these were Scots-Irish, people who had ended their indentured servitude, escaped slaves. It was a way to get away. Mm-hmm. And, there's a myth that they stole land from the Cherokee. The truth is more often they leased it from the Cherokee. And the Cherokee proper were pretty much in tune with this. They traded goods and they more or less got along. But the British hired renegades, Tryon hired renegades and paid them good money to come down and murder and torture people in this area. So there was a great deal of bitterness against the British, and more people, especially those over that line, almost all of them were very much anti-king. So getting them to come fight would be huge, but no one could do it. And finally, a guy named Patrick Ferguson, who was the right-hand man of General Cornwallis, had helped him win the Battle of Camden and undoubtedly thought he was going to get a big promotion. But instead, Cornwallis, being the arrogant sod that he was, sends poor old Patrick Ferguson up to a place near Rutherford County called Gilberttown, which is nothing then and is not much now. So he sent him to the wilderness and he said, you keep an eye on those hillbillies. And I'm sure that really made him mad because he did something no one sane would ever do, even to this day. He decided to send riders into the hills and said, if you don't come and fight for your noble king, I will lay waste your land and hang your leaders. And you don't do that now. You surely do that then. And so that really set these guys off because apparently there were handbills tacked to trees or it was communicated verbally, but it got, believe it or not, as sparse as the population was, things got around really quickly. Mm-hmm. And so they finally met up at a fort and Reverend Doak went and spoke to them, and we will include his entire speech and prayer in the movie. It's very short, maybe 5 minutes tops, 3 minutes probably. And he just said, go, go and get. Wow. So, and they did, and they came over and they threw the balance heavily in the favor of the patriotic side and not the loyalist side who were loyal to the king. And up there, Ferguson was so arrogant, he had said, God himself could not remove me from this mountain. As it turns out, his prophecy was correct. His body is still there, along with one of his two girlfriends, both named Sally.
Really?
Yeah. The other Sally told him.
And that's the Kings Mountain.
That's the
we
Kings
pass
Mountain
on the way to
yes,
Charlotte.
yes, sir. It's really a ridge for those of you thinking mountain. It's just kind of a high ridge, but
yeah, well, you come out of the mountains and then you get to Kings Mountain. You're like, wait, the mountains are back there.
That's not a mountain. Yeah, it's a long ridge and it's fairly high, and it was a well-defended spot. What he didn't count on was that they were using Brown Bess muskets, and all these guys came with Kentucky long rifles, and they could literally stay behind rocks. These guys have to be able to pick off a squirrel to live.
Right.
They can hit an acorn at 100 paces.
So I don't know if you know this. My son right now, he's apprenticing. He makes the old rifles, the flintlocks and the muzzle loaders.
Well, we'll get him up.
And he makes the old school, like in the Patriot,
Good
percussion cap and muzzle loaders. But he's always talking about the rifles that these men had. They were hunters. They weren't.
That's how they lived.
Yeah, and they could sit back and pick them off.
And they did, and not one single person came off that mountain that wasn't a prisoner or dead. Many of them were dead. No, one of the things sad about the battle is that there was all militia, so there's no real records. There's a lot of verbal records, like I said, that were eventually written down. Heaven knows, generations later. So we don't have a clear number, but somewhere roughly between 4,000 and 5,000 men, which clearly makes it the largest militia-only battle during the Revolution.
Wow. And so someone told me, I don't know if you know this, or if this is true, that it was on the Feast of Our Lady of the Rosary, too.
It could have been. I didn't hear that part, but I will look that up and see.
A priest over in Rutherford County told me that.
I will take his word for it, and I'll look into it. But I believe that.
I don't know what that would mean for us, but you know.
What happened then was something that never happened before or after, and that is Cornwallis retreated. He lost his left flank. Those were his locals, his eyes and ears. No one actually knows why he retreated from Charlotte, which is where he was. I mean, he was only 12, 13 miles away. So clearly Ferguson was doing this to show off. If he'd wanted to be sure to win a battle, he would have just joined Cornwallis's forces in Charlotte, just 12, 13 miles away. But he wanted to show out, and he did.
Yeah.
And it didn't end well for him. But what it did do is, like I say, Cornwallis retreats, and he stays 3 months in South Carolina, which gives General Greene a chance to come down with a small army. We never had an army big enough to fight him directly, and should never have attempted that at Camden because we got smashed. Right. So after that, we were smart enough not to, but he's mad as he can be. I'm sure he hated hillbillies with deep passion. He says, I'm going to get them this time. I'm sending my best guy over to a place called the Cowpens. And guess what? He got his butt handed to him again, and his guy just barely got away. So
we've been to Cowpens. Yeah. We brought the family there. We hadn't been to it.
It was another complete defeat. So here he has lost his right flank and his left flank, and a significant number of his fighting troops. So from that point, I'm sure he would call it a strategic withdrawal, but it was. If you look at the map, he's like trying to get away from the hillbillies.
Yeah.
He wanted out of this mess. So he was trying to get to the coast, obviously, to get resupplied. And of course, we couldn't fight him, but we would hit him here and there. Guilford Courthouse was a pretty big conflict, another battle. But
was this when he was going back through, where the Swamp Rabbit was? And
no, this is all happening in North Carolina and Virginia.
Okay. So he didn't go back down into South Carolina.
No, not after that. That was there. But by the way, many people don't know, even after he left and surrendered at Yorktown, the war raged on in the South for another 2 years. And that's where the Swamp Rabbit people and all that was still happening. And again, it was a bloody civil war.
All right. Well, you just painted the story, the narrative.
Sorry,
you have the passion for the narrative, but this is what you're working on. You're trying to raise the capital.
Raise the capital to make a major movie with it, and we have raised enough so that we have a fully pre-produced movie, which means a approved script. We have a full international distribution deal, which no one gets before they shoot a movie. We were able to negotiate that with a group who loves the concept and is a well-known distributor, a couple of guys that have been in Hollywood forever. And they just like the story. And here's another interesting point to anybody that might be out there considering, hey, would I invest in this film? We have a very expensive legal document called a PPM, and I'm not able to speak directly to people about investments. They have to see the PPM. It's very serious. It costs almost 6 figures to get it
Yeah.
from one of the best law firms in the Southeast. So we're not playing around, for instance.
Yeah, you're doing it.
We're doing business. We're going to make this happen with God's will.
Wow.
And it needs to be told. And there's 2 big reasons why. Number one, we all know it's good to talk about our founding. What most people don't realize, it's been a quarter of a century since we have had a major motion picture about a revolution. And thank you, Mel Gibson, for that. Or we wouldn't even have that. It would have been even longer.
Right. I mean, I literally just brought up the last
Yeah,
one.
did,
But the
yeah.
Patriot was the
Patriot,
example
yes.
of trying to picture the guns that they had.
Yeah.
That was
Now, the Patriot was brilliantly done. It's captured the spirit of the war beautifully, but was historically just all over the place. You can't figure out where they were, and it doesn't matter. It was a great story. But in this case, we're going to follow the historical
Mel Gibson,
story.
you do whatever you want.
Yeah, he does what he wants. We're going to follow the story as closely as we can historically.
Wow.
And we're still going to get the historical Nazis on us because you didn't show my cousin, my third cousin, 7 times removed. And the wonderful thing he did there. So anyway, we can't cover it all, and movies don't.
So you're even talking like a Southern man. They don't care about their cousin. They got to, anyway, that's a thing. That's a matter of kin.
That's a matter of kinfolk.
All
But
right.
we apologize for not putting everyone's cousin who was there in it. But we will get the gist of the movie down historically correctly. And of course, we will have everyone.
Well, I can't believe how much of the story you just filled in with for me about, I live right, I pass it all the time, on the way to Charlotte. But more importantly, actually, well, equally important because we're part of one big story, God's story. I'm glad to have learned some more of your story, John.
Thank you. Likewise. And it is a long and complicated story.
Yeah.
We will be compressing it into a 2-hour movie. And
I'm sorry. No, I switched to you now. Your life is going to be a 2-hour movie. Is that what you said?
at least.
And then I was in radio.
Yeah.
All right. So when one, thank you for being on the Sword and Spade podcast. And I want everyone to know that when your movie comes out and they hear how's that trailer going to start?
In a world where everyone wanted to be a revolutionary.
No, how about, no. Let's get better lines.
Sure.
In a world where instead of a man being king over many, many wanted to be a king or something like that.
There you go.
All right. Well, if you want any script help, just let me know.
Thank you. I can always use it.
Thanks,
I read other people's words.
Thank you, John, for being on the Sword and Spade podcast.
Thank you so
It's been
much.
awesome.
I appreciate it. And try to behave if you can, Jason.
No.
Do your best.
No, sir. All right. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.